Tittle the Ancient Temple and the Book of Memories. Beneath the vast and endless sky, hidden in the heart of a forgotten forest, lies an ancient temple. Overgrown with ivy and forgotten by time, it holds secrets older than civilization itself. It is said that within its crumbling walls rests a book that contains the memories of the world. This is a story of a lone traveler who seeks to uncover the mysteries of the temple, and with it, the power of memories that can shape destinies. In a distant village nestled between mountains, there was a legend. The elders spoke of a hidden temple deep in the forest, where time itself seemed to stand still. It was said that only those with a pure heart and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge could find it. Many had searched, but none had returned. One evening, a young traveler named Arian, drawn by the allure of the unknown, set out on a journey. He had heard the whispers of the temple since childhood, and now, as an adult, he knew it was time to seek it for himself. Armed with little more than his curiosity and a map passed down from his grandfather, he ventured into the forest. As he walked through the dense trees, the air grew cooler, and the sounds of the forest grew quieter. It was as if the world around him was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Arian had the strange sensation that the forest itself was alive, watching him, guiding him. Hours turned into days, and just as his hope began to wane, he found it the entrance to the temple. Hidden behind a veil of moss and vines, it was a sight to behold. The stone pillars, worn by centuries of rain and wind, still stood tall. The intricate carvings on the walls depicted scenes of a forgotten era, and the air inside was thick with the scent of ancient dust. As Arian stepped deeper into the temple, he felt an overwhelming sense of awe. The silence here was profound, as though the temple was waiting for him. In the center of the temple, he found a grand altar, and upon it lay a single objective book. Its cover was made of weathered leather, and its pages were yellowed with age. But there was something about it, something that called to him. The Book of Memories. Arian hesitated, unsure of what he was about to do. But his curiosity got the better of him, and he reached out, carefully opening the book. The pages, though ancient, were perfectly preserved. The text inside seemed to shimmer as though alive. As he read the first lines, a flood of memories rushed into his mind. The book did not just hold the memories of the past, it held the memories of the future, too. Arian saw visions of events yet to come, of people he had never met, and places he had never been. It was as if the entire world was laid out before him, its stories intertwined with his own. With each page Arian turned, the visions grew clearer. He saw the rise and fall of kingdoms, the birth and death of heroes, the creation of the stars, and the fall of forgotten gods. The memories were not just of the past, they were alive within him, shaping the very fabric of his existence. But with this power came a great responsibility. Arian understood that the Book of Memories was not just a tool of knowledge, it was a mirror, reflecting the deepest parts of the soul. The book showed him not only the world but also himself. As he continued reading, Arian began to question the nature of his journey. Was he meant to change the future? Was he meant to reshape the memories that had already been written? Could one man truly hold the power to alter the course of time? As the final page turned, Arian felt a presence in the temple. A shadowy figure, ancient and wise, appeared before him. It was the guardian of the temple, a being who had watched over the Book of Memories for eons. "You have unlocked the secrets of the book," the guardian said, its voice a whisper that echoed in Arian's mind. "But with great power comes great cost. The memories you now hold are not just yours. They belong to the world, and with every decision you make, you shape the future of all." Arian, still overwhelmed by the weight of the book's knowledge, asked, "What must I do? How can I bear this responsibility?" The guardian smiled, a faint, knowing smile. The true power of the Book of Memories is not in changing the future, but in understanding the past. Only when you accept both will you find peace. The memories of the world are infinite, and no one can hold them all. Choose wisely what you wish to carry with you, and let go of the rest. With those words, the guardian faded into the shadows, leaving Arian alone in the temple, the book resting gently in his hands. Arian stood in the silence of the temple, holding the Book of Memories. His mind raced with the possibilities. The future was no longer a distant concept, it was something he could touch, feel, and perhaps even change. But in doing so, he would forever alter the course of his own life and the lives of others. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light through the crumbling walls of the temple, Arian made his decision. He closed the book and placed it back on the altar. The weight of the world was not his to bear, not yet, not until he truly understood the lessons of the past. With one last glance at the temple, Arian turned and left, the forest welcoming him back. The Book of Memories remained behind, its pages waiting for the next soul brave enough to seek its truths. And so, the temple stood silent once more, guarding its secrets, waiting for the next story to unfold. Arian's journey back through the forest was a quiet one. The weight of his decision hung heavy on his heart, but there was a strange sense of peace within him. He had chosen not to wield the book's power, at least, not yet. But he knew that the Book of Memories would not remain hidden forever. One day, someone else would come seeking its knowledge, and the cycle would begin anew. The village, when he returned to it, felt different. It seemed as if the land itself had changed during his absence. The air was thick with the scent of something ancient, something that had been waiting for his return. The villagers, who once saw him as just another wanderer, now looked at him with a mixture of awe and fear, as though they could sense that something had shifted within him. Arian's friends noticed the change first. His closest companion, a woman named Lyra, approached him one evening by the village's quiet lake. "Arian," she said softly, her voice tinged with concern, "you are different. I can see it in your eyes. Tell me, what happened in the temple?" He hesitated, the memories of the temple and the guardian flooding back. How could he explain the power of the book? The weight of time itself? "I found the temple," he said slowly, "but I did not take the book with me. The memories, they are not mine to carry. I learned that the past cannot be changed. It is the future that is not yet written, and even then, it is shaped by every small action, every choice we make." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "I think you've made the right choice. But tell me this, do you think the memories that are hidden in the book will ever return to us? Will the world remember what was forgotten?" Arian looked out across the water, where the last rays of the setting sun danced on the surface like fireflies. "Perhaps," he whispered, "perhaps they will find their way to someone else, someone who is ready to carry them. But for now, I think I need to live with the memories I already have, my own, the ones I've made." Years passed, and Arian's life unfolded quietly in the village. He became a healer, a teacher of the ancient ways, sharing the wisdom he had learned from his travels but never speaking of the Book of Memories. He had found peace in his decision to leave the book behind, and for a time, that peace was enough. But deep in the heart of the forest, the temple waited. The vines had grown back over its entrance, hiding it once again from the eyes of the world. The Book of Memories, however, could not remain hidden forever. Its power was too great, and the whispers of its existence began to echo through the land once more. One evening, as Arian sat by the fire, a figure appeared at his door, a traveler, much like he had once been. The man's eyes were wild with the same hunger for knowledge that Arian had once felt. In his hand, he held a map that led to the temple. "I've heard the stories," the traveler said, "of a place where all memories are kept. The Book of Memories. They say that whoever reads it can control the fate of the world. I need to find it. Will you help me? Arian's heart skipped a beat. He recognized the look in the man's eyes. It was the same look he had worn so many years ago. But now, he understood what it meant. The Book of Memories was not a tool to change the future, it was a mirror of the soul. And once it was opened, it could never truly be closed. I cannot help you, Arian said quietly, his voice firm. I once sought the book myself, but I learned that it is not for me or for anyone. The memories of the world are too powerful to be controlled by one person. If you seek it, you will find it, but you must understand that the book will change you. The traveler stood there for a long moment, studying Arian with a mixture of doubt and determination. Then, without a word, he turned and left, disappearing into the night. As the years went by, Arian's life came full circle. The Book of Memories, though not in his hands, had touched his soul, shaping his thoughts and decisions in ways he could never fully comprehend. He lived with the knowledge that, in the end, the choices he made were what truly shaped the world, not the memories of the past or the visions of the future. One quiet evening, as Arian stood at the edge of the forest, gazing at the moonlit sky, he felt a strange sensation. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the faintest trace of a memory long forgotten. It was a memory that did not belong to him, but to the world itself. A memory of a time when gods walked the earth and the stars were still young. The Book of Memories had not disappeared. It had simply returned to the place it belonged, waiting for the next soul brave enough to seek its truths. But for now, Arian understood. The past and the future were not separate entities. They were one, intertwined in a never-ending dance. The world would continue to change, but the memories, those ancient, eternal memories, would always remain. And so, Arian closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the stars upon him, and knew that his journey had only just begun. Years passed, and Arian's life seemed to settle into a quiet rhythm. He had become a man of wisdom, sharing what little knowledge he had with the villagers and those who sought guidance. Yet, the feeling that something was missing never quite left him. Deep within, he knew that his decision to leave the Book of Memories had not been the end of the story, but merely a chapter. One crisp morning, while Arian was walking along the forest's edge, he saw a familiar figure in the distance. It was the traveler, the man who had come to him many years ago seeking the book. Arian's heart raced as he recognized the determined look in the man's eyes. The same eyes that had once mirrored his own hunger for knowledge. This time, the traveler did not ask for help. Instead, he simply spoke with a heavy sigh, as though burdened by the weight of his journey. I've seen it, he said, his voice hoarse. I've seen the book. I opened it and it has changed me. Arian felt a deep sense of foreboding. What did you see? The traveler paused, his gaze distant, lost in the echoes of memories that were not his own. The book showed me everything: the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth of worlds, the death of stars, but it also showed me the truth. The memories are not just of the past or the future. They are the fabric of existence itself. And once you've seen them, you cannot unsee them. The world is not what we think it is, Arian. The memories are intertwined with every living being, every blade of grass, every raindrop that falls. They shape everything, and yet they are nothing. Arian listened intently, his heart heavy with understanding. The traveler had discovered the same truth he had all those years ago, that the Book of Memories was not a mere collection of stories, but a living force, entwined with the essence of the universe. But why did you seek it? Arian asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The traveler's expression softened. I thought I could change the world. I thought I could save the future. But I learned that the world does not need saving. It simply needs to be understood. Arian nodded, the weight of the traveler's words settling within him. He had come to the same realization during his time with the book. It was not the memories that were important, but the ability to live with them, to accept the past, and to embrace the present. The future would come, no matter what. As the days passed, the traveler stayed in the village, though he was not the same man who had first sought the book. The knowledge he had gained from the Book of Memories was both a gift and a curse. He spent much of his time in quiet contemplation, occasionally sharing fragments of what he had seen. Arian, too, began to feel the burden of the knowledge that had been passed down through the generations. He realized that even though he had not taken the book with him, it had already shaped his destiny. The book's presence in his life, its influence, was undeniable. He had become a part of the cycle that had spanned centuries, where those who sought the temple were never truly free of its pull. One evening, as the village gathered for a feast to celebrate the harvest, the moon rose high, casting its pale light over the land. Arian stood by the edge of the gathering, lost in thought. He could feel the pull of the temple again, that familiar whisper of destiny calling to him. The Book of Memories, though distant, still seemed to reach out to him, waiting. But this time, Arian knew better. He had come to understand that the path to wisdom was not through the pursuit of endless knowledge, but through living in harmony with the world as it was. The temple, the book, the memories, they were all part of the same cycle. It was a cycle that could not be broken, nor should it be. It was the nature of existence itself. One quiet night, Arian made a decision. He could no longer avoid his connection to the ancient temple, nor could he ignore the truth that had shaped his life. He walked alone into the forest, the moonlight casting long shadows on the path ahead. The air was thick with anticipation, as though the forest itself knew he was returning to the place that had changed everything. As he neared the entrance of the temple, the vines parted, as if welcoming him back. The altar stood as it always had, and there, waiting for him, was the Book of Memories. This time, however, he did not hesitate. He reached out and opened the book, not with the desire to change the world, but with the understanding that he was already a part of it. As he read, the visions came once again. But this time, they did not overwhelm him. He understood that the memories were not just stories of the past or the future. They were threads woven into the fabric of the present. The choices he made, the lives he touched, the small moments of kindness, these were the true memories that shaped the world. The Book of Memories was not something to be feared or sought after. It was a mirror of existence, a reflection of all that had come before and all that was yet to come. It was not for one person to control, but for all to understand. As Arian closed the book, he felt a deep sense of peace. The temple had given him its final lesson that the past, present, and future were one, and that true wisdom came from living in the moment. Arian returned to the village, carrying the knowledge of the Book of Memories within him. But now, he no longer felt burdened by its weight. He understood that the true power of the book was not in its ability to reveal the past or predict the future, but in its ability to teach the value of the present moment. The traveler, too, had found peace. Together, they shared their wisdom with others, not in grand speeches or declarations, but in quiet actions and small gestures. The villagers, though unaware of the book's true power, began to live their lives with a new understanding, embracing the ebb and flow of time without fear. And so, the ancient temple stood silent once more, its secrets safe, waiting for the next soul to come and seek its truths. But now, Arian knew the temple was not a place of power to be claimed. It was a place of reflection, a place where time itself could be understood and appreciated for what it was, a fleeting, precious gift. Arian's life had grown quieter with each passing season, but the memories of his journey with the Book of Memories never quite left him. The village flourished under his guidance, and the land seemed to respond to his newfound wisdom. But despite the peace that had settled over him, Arian couldn't shake the feeling that the temple and the book had not finished with him yet. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the forest, Arian sat by the lake, his mind drifting. The stillness of the world around him was comforting, yet a strange unease tugged at his heart. It was then that he heard the voice a whisper on the wind, a voice he recognized. Arian, you have not learned everything yet. He looked around, but there was no one in sight. The voice, soft and distant, seemed to come from the very air itself. His breath caught in his chest as the words echoed in his mind. Who? Arian started, but the voice continued. You have only touched the surface. There is more you must understand. More that the Book of Memories has not shown you. Arian stood up quickly, his heart pounding. He had thought that his journey with the book was over, but it seemed the whispers of fate had other plans. Why now? He whispered to the wind. Why are you calling me again? The voice replied, because the world is changing. The threads of time are unraveling. The memories of the past must be restored, or the future will be lost. The following days were marked by strange occurrences. The village elders spoke of visions, dreams of distant lands, forgotten places, and ancient faces that seemed to have no place in the present. Some villagers began to speak of strange dreams, dreams where they walked through a city of towering stone, lost to time. One day, as Arian walked along the forest path, he encountered an unfamiliar figure, a tall woman dressed in flowing robes, her eyes the color of the deep ocean. She stood at the edge of the path, watching him with an expression that was both ancient and knowing. I have been waiting for you, Arian, she said, her voice calm and steady. I am Lyra, the keeper of lost memories. Arian felt a strange pull toward her. There was something in her presence that seemed to resonate with the book, with the very essence of time itself. You know of the book? Arian asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lyra nodded slowly. I have watched over the memories of the world for as long as I can remember. The Book of Memories is not just a relic of the past, it is the key to preserving the future. But it is incomplete. It has been fragmented, scattered through time, and the memories are slipping away. Arian's heart raced as he tried to understand. What do you mean? I thought the book had revealed all there was to know. There is a deeper truth, Lyra said softly. The Book of Memories only reveals what the reader is ready to understand. But there are memories that are hidden even from the book itself. These memories belong to the world's soul, and they cannot be unlocked by any one person. Arian frowned, trying to grasp the meaning behind her words. What must be done? You must find the lost fragments of the book, Lyra replied. There are pieces scattered throughout the world, each holding a key to the memories that have been forgotten. Only when these fragments are gathered can the true story be revealed, and only then can the future be restored. Arian knew that his path had just changed once again. The Book of Memories had never truly been an end, but rather a beginning, a key to something far greater than he could have imagined. He had learned that the book was more than just an artifact, it was a living, breathing part of the world itself. And its secrets were not meant to be hoarded or controlled. With Lyra's guidance, Arian set out on a journey to recover the lost fragments of the book. His travels took him across distant lands, through ancient ruins, and into places where the past seemed to live in the present. Each fragment he found revealed more about the world's forgotten history and the true nature of the memories it held. As he journeyed, Arian began to see the threads of time in a new light. He no longer viewed the past as something to be changed or controlled, but as something that shaped the present. The memories were not just stories, they were the foundation of the world itself, and only by restoring them could he hope to preserve the future. Each fragment of the book brought new insights, new revelations about the nature of existence. And as Arian pieced them together, he began to understand the most important truth of all: the future was not something that could be controlled. It was something that had to be embraced, with all its uncertainties and potential. After years of travel, Arian returned to the ancient temple, the final piece of the Book of Memories now in his hands. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes filled with quiet understanding. "The fragments are complete," Arian said, his voice filled with awe. "I have seen the truth, and yet I feel as if I know nothing at all." Lyra smiled softly. "That is the nature of true wisdom, Arian. The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is to understand." Together, they entered the temple once more. The Book of Memories lay upon the altar, its pages glowing with a soft, ethereal light. As Arian opened the book, he felt the world shift around him, as if the very fabric of time was unraveling and weaving itself back together. The memories of the past, the future, and the present swirled together, revealing a tapestry that was both beautiful and terrifying in its complexity. Arian realized then that the Book of Memories was not just a tool for knowledge, it was a reminder of the fragile, interconnected nature of existence. Each memory, each moment, was a thread in the vast web of life, and each choice he made rippled through time, touching the lives of countless others. The book closed with a soft sigh, and Arian knew that the journey was over. Not because he had unlocked all the secrets, but because he had learned the most important lesson of all: that the world's memories were not his to control, but to honor. Arian stood before the Book of Memories, now complete, its pages glowing softly in the stillness of the temple. Lyra watched quietly, her presence like the silent echo of time itself. The weight of everything Arian had learned, the forgotten histories, the lost fragments, the interconnectedness of all things, lay heavy on his heart. Yet there was still something else, something unsaid. As he touched the book once again, the pages turned of their own accord. And then, in a moment that felt both timeless and fleeting, Arian saw it: the veil between the world of the living and the world of the dead. It was not a physical barrier, but an ethereal boundary, woven of memories and dreams. It stretched infinitely in every direction, like the fabric of the universe itself. "Arian," Lyra spoke softly, her voice breaking the silence. "What you see before you is not just the past or the future. It is eternity itself. The memories that bind us all are not just of this world, they stretch across realms, to those who have come before us, and to those who have yet to be born." Arian's gaze lingered on the veil, a shimmering reflection of stars and distant galaxies. The book had shown him the past, but this was something more. He saw glimpses of other lives, of other worlds, of beings who had once walked this earth but were now forgotten. He saw echoes of the future, glimpses of what could be, but also of what might be lost. "It is beautiful," he whispered, "but what does it mean?" Lyra stepped closer, her eyes reflecting the light of the book. "It means that the world is not as it seems. The memories of those who have passed are not gone, they linger in the fabric of time, waiting to be remembered. The future, too, is a delicate web, where every choice matters, but it is not fixed. It is shaped by the choices made in the present. You are at the crossroads of these realms, Arian. The fate of not only your world, but of all worlds, rests in your hands." Arian felt the weight of her words. The book had shown him so much, but now, standing at the edge of eternity, he realized that understanding the past and the future was not enough. It was the present, the choices they made in the here and now, that truly shaped the course of all things. With the book in hand, Arian and Lyra embarked on a new mission. There were others like Lyra, guardians of lost memories, beings who had watched over the flow of time for millennia. But they were few, and their numbers had dwindled over the ages. Some had vanished, others had fallen silent. The guardians were the keepers of the memories that connected the realms of the living and the dead, but they could not act alone. As Arian and Lyra traveled across the land, they encountered the last of the guardians, beings of ancient power, who had once been the stewards of time, but now seemed to be fading. Each guardian held a key to a specific fragment of the world's memory, a piece of the veil that had been lost in time. They came across Ryla, the guardian of echoes, a being who existed between worlds, neither fully of the living nor of the dead. She lived in a place where the past and future coexisted, a place where memories echoed in endless reverberations. Time is a cycle, Ryla said, her voice soft but haunting. What you see as the past will one day be the future. And what you see as the future was once the past. The book holds this truth, but it is incomplete. The guardians are the keepers of its lost pages, and we have forgotten what we once knew. Arian listened closely, his mind racing. Can we restore what has been lost? Can the book be completed, not just in fragments, but in its entirety? Ryla's eyes glimmered with ancient knowledge. To complete the book is to complete the cycle of time, but doing so will come at a great cost. The veil must be mended, the balance between life and death restored. The guardians are fading because they have become disconnected from the threads of time. Without us, the memories will scatter, and the future will fade into oblivion. Lyra stepped forward, her face grave. And if we fail? Ryla's gaze darkened. Then the fabric of time itself will unravel, and all will be lost. Arian felt the weight of the guardian's words as he journeyed deeper into the realms where the veil between life and death grew thin. The guardians had once been a united force, guiding the memories of the world and ensuring the balance between past, present, and future. But now, they were scattered, weakened by the passage of time. Each guardian Arian met shared their own fragment of the world's memory, each one an important key to understanding the true nature of the Book of Memories. However, each guardian also warned him of the risks. As the veil between realms grew weaker, the lines between life and death blurred, and with it, the memories of the forgotten were beginning to return. It was then that Arian realized the true cost of completing the Book of Memories. If the book was restored, if the memories of all time were reunited, it would not only bind the past, present, and future, it would bind life and death itself. He came to understand that the guardians were not just keepers of memories. They were the final protectors of the world's balance. Without them, the cycles of life and death would collapse, and time itself would cease to exist as they knew it. Arian knew that he could not complete the book without first understanding the full weight of its power. As he faced the decision before him whether to restore the book fully or leave it incomplete, he wondered if it was worth the price. Was the knowledge of the past and future worth the potential unraveling of existence itself? Arian stood once more in the heart of the temple, the completed Book of Memories open before him. All the fragments were now united, and the veil between realms shimmered with the weight of the truth. Lyra and Ryla stood by his side, watching him with quiet anticipation. "You hold the key to time itself," Lyra said softly. "The book is complete, but its power is great. To restore the balance, to unite the realms, the memories must be set free. But once done, there is no turning back." Arian closed his eyes, feeling the pull of the past and the future, the weight of countless lives pressing upon him. He had learned so much, but now he had to decide to restore the flow of time, to complete the cycle, or to let the book remain unfinished, allowing time to continue its uncertain course. He opened the book one final time, and the memories poured forth, past, present, and future intertwining in a single, eternal moment. And in that moment, Arian made his choice. The air around Arian shimmered with the power of the Book of Memories. Time itself seemed to pause, holding its breath as the completed book lay open before him. The weight of the decision pressed upon him, a choice that would change not only his own fate but the future of all existence. Lyra and Ryla stood silently by his side, their eyes filled with a quiet, unspoken understanding. The very fabric of the world seemed to hang in balance, waiting for him to decide the path they would take. Arian, Lyra spoke, her voice gentle but filled with the weight of centuries. The memories that flow through this book are not just records of what has happened. They are the lifeblood of existence itself. To restore them is to restore the balance between all things life and death, past and future, the seen and the unseen. Ryla added, her voice tinged with sorrow, but the cost is high. You cannot restore the memories without binding the realms. Once the balance is set, it will never be undone. The veil between life and death will be woven into the very fabric of existence, and neither realm will ever be the same again. Arian's heart thudded in his chest as he thought of all that he had learned. He had seen the beauty of the world's memories, the connection between all things, and the fragile threads that held them together. Yet, he had also seen the pain, the loss, the regrets, the shattered lives that had been forgotten, and the future that was slipping away like sand through his fingers. The book whispered to him, its pages alive with the energy of the cosmos. He felt the pull of the past, the weight of the future, and the delicate moment of the present. This was his choice, whether to restore the flow of time and bind all the realms together, or to leave them to their uncertain paths. With a deep breath, Arian closed his eyes, feeling the flow of time rush through him. The memories, both painful and beautiful, were not just his to control. They were the collective story of all who had ever lived, and he realized that to bind them was to honor the legacy of every soul, every moment, and every choice made. Arian reached forward, his hand trembling slightly as it hovered over the open book. The air around him seemed to hum with energy, the pull of time itself urging him onward. He felt the weight of the decision in his very soul, the responsibility of it all. With a single, steady motion, Arian touched the pages of the Book of Memories. As his fingers made contact, a flash of light enveloped him, and the world around him seemed to fracture and reassemble. The temple, the guardians, the very fabric of reality all seemed to bend and twist in a kaleidoscope of images, moments from the past, visions of the future, and glimpses of lives yet to be lived. Arian saw the great tapestry of existence, its threads intertwined, and he realized that every memory, every choice, had a purpose. The veil between realms, once thin and fragile, began to solidify, becoming a bridge that connected life and death, past and future. The guardians, once fading, were restored, their forms now radiant with the power of the completed book. The memories that had been lost, forgotten, or hidden, now swirled together, coalescing into a single, unified flow of time. Yet as the realms merged, something unexpected happened. Arian felt the power surge through him, but with it came a profound sense of loss. The binding of the realms did not come without a sacrifice. As the memories flowed into the book, they began to echo through the worlds in ways that he had not anticipated. The living and the dead began to merge in subtle ways. Whispers of the past could be heard in the minds of the living, and the echoes of the future began to seep into the present. Arian turned to Lyra, his eyes wide with concern. What is happening? Why does it feel as though the boundaries between the realms are erasing? Lyra's face was serene, yet there was a deep sadness in her eyes. The binding was never meant to be perfect. The realms are now intertwined, and the memories are flowing between them. The past, the present, and the future will never be fully separate again. Some souls from the past will linger in the present, and some from the future may slip into the now. The flow of time will be altered, and those who once lived will have an eternal presence in the world. But what of the living? Arian asked, his voice strained. What of their future? The future is no longer a distant thing, Lyra explained. It is part of the present now. And that is the price of unity. The boundaries between life and death, past and future, have become porous. Time is no longer linear, but circular. The living will live in the presence of the past, and the dead will find echoes of their existence in the living. Arian looked at the book, its pages now glowing with a soft, radiant light. Is this what I have done? Have I undone the balance? You have not undone it, Ryla said, her voice soft but sure. You have reshaped it. The worlds are no longer separate, but intertwined. This is the new orderon where the memories of all who have lived, all who will live, exist in harmony. The world will never be the same, but perhaps, that is the true meaning of time itself. As the book closed, Arian felt a deep sense of both loss and peace. The choice he had made was irreversible, but in that choice, he had created a new reality, a reality where the past, present, and future coexisted, where the memories of the living and the dead were woven together into a seamless tapestry. The world outside the temple was no longer the same. People moved through their days, but now there were whispers of past lives, of forgotten ancestors, of futures that had not yet come to pass. The veil between the realms had thinned so much that the lines between them were now blurred, and time itself had become a living, breathing entity. Arian walked out into the world, no longer just a traveler, but a guardian of the balance he had created. He had given the world the gift of eternal memory, but also the burden of living with the echoes of all that had come before and all that was yet to come. As he looked to the horizon, he saw the first light of dawn breaking across the sky, a new beginning, born from the union of time, memory, and existence. And with that, Arian knew that his journey was complete, not because he had reached an end, but because the world had entered a new Chapter 1 where the past, present, and future would live on together, forever intertwined. In the days following the merging of realms, the world began to shift. The once clear distinctions between the past and the present were now woven into one continuous thread. Arian found himself walking among the people, but he no longer saw them as simply individuals from the present. He saw the faint traces of those who had lived before them, their whispers lingering in the wind, their faces reflected in the corners of his mind. The memories of the forgotten were no longer truly forgotten. They lived on in the hearts of the living, in the dreams of those who still walked the earth. But with this, came an unexpected consequence. The past, once dormant, now sought to reclaim its place in the present. Arian wandered through the bustling cities, where the veil between the realms had thinned. He witnessed strange occurrences, saw a child speaking in ancient tongues, a once forgotten melody echoing in the streets, faces of the long dead appearing in reflections. The echoes of the past had come to life, but not all of them were peaceful. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Arian met an old woman who seemed untouched by time. Her eyes, deep and ancient, held a knowledge that stretched beyond his comprehension. "You've done it, haven't you?" she said, her voice soft yet piercing. Arian nodded. "I have restored the book of memories. The realms are no longer separate." She smiled faintly, but there was a sorrow in her gaze. "You have united the realms, but with unity comes chaos. Time is no longer linear, and the memories of the dead are no longer bound to the past. Some memories are forgotten for a reason, child. Some histories are not meant to resurface." Arian frowned. "But the memories should be honored, shouldn't they? Every life, every moment is precious." The woman shook her head slowly. "Honoring the past is not the same as allowing it to rule the present. The past may have its place, but when it reasserts itself too strongly, it can consume the future. The balance you have restored is fragile, Arian. The echoes of the forgotten are calling, and if they are not silenced, they will take over." Despite the unsettling nature of the woman's words, Arian could not ignore the truth of what she had said. As the days passed, he saw more signs that the past was pushing its way into the present. The memories of lost souls had become restless, some benign, others filled with a dark hunger for recognition. They appeared in dreams, in whispers, and in strange occurrences that seemed to defy logic. Arian sought out Lyra, who had been a constant presence since the book's completion. Together, they went to Ryla, the guardian of echoes, seeking guidance on how to stabilize the delicate balance they had created. Ryla greeted them with a solemn expression. The echoes are growing stronger, and they will not be ignored. They are the memories of those who once lived, seeking to find their place in the world of the living. But they are not the only ones who have been affected by your actions. Arian's heart sank. What do you mean? The veil was not meant to be permanently broken, Ryla explained. The guardians, the keepers of the realms, were never meant to unite the realms so completely. The consequences are far-reaching, and some of the echoes are not of the peaceful kind. Some are the remnants of those who sought power in life, and now they seek it again in death. Lyra's eyes widened. You mean, the darkness that was sealed in the past could resurface? Ryla nodded gravely. Yes. The memories of the forgotten, especially the dark ones, have been disturbed. There are ancient forces at play, Arian. Forces that were once sealed away, hidden in the folds of time, now awaken. They seek to reclaim what they lost, to regain their power. And if they are not stopped, the very fabric of reality could begin to unravel. The time had come for Arian and his allies to face the consequences of their actions. As they ventured into the heart of the merging realms, they encountered the first signs of the darkness. In the once peaceful forests, the trees twisted in unnatural shapes, their bark marked with ancient runes. The winds carried whispers not of forgotten lives, but of forgotten evils, seeking to reclaim their place in the world. Arian, Lyra, and Ryla moved through the shifting landscapes, following the trail of dark echoes. They encountered beings from the past, souls that had once ruled, now consumed by their own hunger for power. These figures were not just echoes, but distortions of memory, fueled by the desire to reclaim what they had lost. One such figure was a man draped in tattered robes, his face obscured by shadows. His presence was a suffocating force, as though he had never truly died, but merely faded into oblivion, waiting for his moment to return. I am Siren, the figure spoke, his voice like a cold wind. I was once a king, and now I will rule again. The veil between life and death has been broken, and I will take my throne. All who stand in my way will be erased from memory, and the world will be mine. Arian stepped forward, the weight of his decision pressing heavily on his shoulders. You are but a shadow of the past. You cannot rule this world again. The balance must be maintained. Siren's laughter echoed through the air. The balance is nothing but a fragile illusion. I have lived, I have died, and now I will live again, as I always should have. The final confrontation was upon them. Siren's dark power grew with each passing moment, his influence spreading like a plague through the realms. The echoes of other lost souls, drawn to his strength, began to rally behind him. Arian and his companions fought not just for the present, but for the very fabric of existence itself. The battle raged across the land, a clash of memories, of life and death, of the forgotten and the remembered. Arian, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what he had set in motion, fought alongside Lyra and Ryla. Together, they faced the darkness, knowing that only by restoring the balance could they save the world from collapsing into chaos. In the end, it was not through force alone that Arian triumphed, but through understanding. He realized that the past was not meant to be erased, nor could it be allowed to dominate the future. The true power lay in the ability to accept the past, honor it, but allow the future to unfold without the shadow of history casting its darkness over it. With a final surge of energy, Arian called upon the power of the Book of Memories, drawing together the threads of time and memory. He sealed the darkness, pushing back the echoes of the forgotten, and restored the delicate balance between the realms. As the battle ended and the world began to heal, Arian stood at the edge of a new dawn. The realms, once separated, had now found a new harmony. The echoes of the past were still there, but they no longer sought to dominate. The future, though uncertain, was no longer shackled by the weight of the past. Arian had restored the balance, not by ignoring the past, but by understanding its place in the ever-unfolding story of existence. Time was no longer a linear path, but a vast, interconnected web, one that could be shaped by the choices of those who lived in the present. With the Book of Memories now complete, Arian's journey was far from over. He had become a keeper of time, a guardian not just of memories, but of the delicate balance that allowed the world to continue its eternal cycle. And as the first light of a new era touched the land, Arian knew that the story of the world was far from finished. It was only just beginning. Months passed since the realms were bound together and Siren's dark influence was banished. The world that Arian now walked through was not the same as the one he had once known. The streets were still bustling with life, but there was a subtle difference, a quiet presence that lingered beneath the surface. People spoke in hushed tones about strange dreams they had, of ancestors long gone appearing in their thoughts, or the sudden remembrance of forgotten events. The echoes of the past were still present, woven into the very fabric of existence. But now, they were not haunting, they were a part of the world, a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things. Arian had taken on the mantle of the Keeper of Memories, entrusted with the task of guarding the delicate balance between the realms. It was not a role he had sought, but one he had come to accept with both reverence and responsibility. The Book of Memories, now resting within the temple where it had been restored, was no longer just a physical object. It had become a living entity, constantly shifting and changing as the memories of the past flowed into it. Weaving the stories of the world into an eternal tapestry, Arian's days were spent in quiet contemplation, meditating on the vastness of time and memory. He often stood before the book, his fingers tracing its glowing pages, as the voices of the past whispered to him. Each day, he felt the weight of their stories, the lives, the dreams, the hopes, and the regrets that had shaped the world. But there was also peace in the understanding that these memories, once lost, were now safe, held within the folds of time. One evening, as Arian stood by the temple's entrance, gazing out into the horizon, he was approached by Lyra and Ryla. Both were silent as they joined him, watching the stars begin to emerge in the twilight sky. "You've done well, Arian," Lyra said softly, her voice filled with quiet pride. "The balance is stable, for now. The echoes have found their place in the world, and the realms continue to coexist in harmony. But the work is never truly done," Ryla added, her gaze fixed on the stars above. "The past will always be with us, and the future will continue to unfold. But it is your role to ensure that the threads do not become tangled, that the memories are honored and the realms remain in harmony." Arian nodded, understanding the gravity of his new role. "I will guard the memories, but there are still so many questions. Will the world always be like this? A place where past and future coexist so closely?" Lyra smiled gently. "The world is always changing. It is in its nature. The past and future may be intertwined, but it is the present that shapes the future. It is up to you, and all those who walk this world, to ensure that the threads of time are woven with care." Though the balance was maintained, Arian could not shake the feeling that something still lingered in the shadows, something he had not yet fully understood. The echoes of the forgotten were not all benign. Some, it seemed, were growing restless once again, and their whispers grew louder with each passing day. It began with small things, dreams that seemed too real, glimpses of strange faces in the reflections of water, whispers on the wind that carried words Arian could not understand. Then, one night, as Arian sat in the temple, a dark presence filled the air, cold and oppressive. The book of memories trembled on its pedestal, its pages fluttering as if stirred by an unseen wind. Arian approached cautiously, his heart racing. As he touched the book, a single phrase echoed in his mind: the past has not been fully forgotten. The pages of the book began to glow with an eerie light, and images from the past swirled before his eyes, images of ancient battles, of forgotten kings, of powerful beings that had once ruled the realms. Among them, Arian saw a face he had never seen before, a figure cloaked in shadow, with eyes that glowed like burning embers. The figure spoke, but the words were not his own. "You have not seen the true cost of your actions, Arian," the voice intoned, cold and ancient. "The realms are not meant to be united. There are forces that should never be disturbed. You have awakened something far darker than you know." Arian's heart clenched. "What have I done?" The voice laughed, a sound like cracking stone. "You have woven the past and future together, but some threads should never be touched. There are forces beyond time itself, beings that exist outside your understanding. You have disturbed the order, and now they will come for what is theirs." The vision faded, and the book fell silent. Arian stood in stunned silence, the weight of what he had seen pressing heavily on his chest. What had he truly awakened? What darkness lay hidden in the folds of time? Arian knew that he could not ignore the warning. The balance was no longer as secure as it had once been. There were forces out there, beyond the realms of time, that sought to reclaim what had been disturbed. He called upon Lyra and Ryla, sharing the vision that had come to him. The three of them gathered once more in the heart of the temple, seeking answers. "The realms are more fragile than we thought," Ryla said, her voice laced with concern. "If the balance is broken too completely, the threads of time may unravel entirely. And the forces that you have awakened, those that lie beyond time, will stop at nothing to reclaim what is theirs." "But how can we stop them?" Arian asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "What are these forces, and how do we fight something that exists beyond time?" Lyra stepped forward, her expression grave. "The answer lies within the book of memories. It is not just a record of the past, it is a key. A key that unlocks the deeper layers of time itself. To defeat the forces you have awakened, you must delve into the very heart of time, into the places where the veil between realms is thinnest." Arian knew what he had to do. He would need to journey into the depths of time itself, to face the darkness that lay beyond the veil, and to restore the balance before it was lost forever. With Lyra and Ryla at his side, Arian prepared for the journey into the unknown. The book of memories pulsed with energy, guiding them toward the heart of time, the place where the very fabric of existence was woven. As they ventured deep into the realms, they encountered visions of both the past and the future, images of ancient civilizations, long-forgotten battles, and prophecies yet to come. They passed through the gates of time, crossing the boundaries between life and death, the seen and the unseen. Finally, they arrived at the heart of time, a vast, empty space where the past, present, and future converged. There, they confronted the dark figure from Arian's vision, an entity that existed beyond time, beyond the reach of mortal comprehension. "You have come, Arian," the figure said, its voice echoing through the void. "But you cannot stop what has already begun. Time is not yours to control. Arian stood firm, the weight of his choices heavy on his shoulders. I will not let you destroy the balance. Time may be beyond my understanding, but it is still my responsibility to protect it. The battle that followed was unlike any Arian had ever known, an endless clash of memories, of moments and possibilities, where time itself seemed to bend and break. Yet, through it all, Arian stood resolute. With the power of the Book of Memories, he fought to restore the balance, to seal the darkness once and for all. In the end, it was not through force that Arian triumphed, but through understanding. He realized that time was not something to be controlled, it was something to be lived. The past, the present, and the future were not separate forces to be manipulated, but part of a continuous cycle, a flow that could not be halted. With a final, decisive action, Arian restored the balance, pushing the dark forces back into the folds of time where they belonged. The veil between the realms solidified once more, and the echoes of the forgotten were silenced. Arian returned to the world, the Book of Memories now resting peacefully at the heart of the temple. He had learned that the balance of time could never be taken for granted, it was a delicate, living thing that required constant care. And so, Arian continued his role as the keeper of memories, not just guarding the past, but guiding the future. He knew that his journey was far from over, and that the world would continue to change, as it always had. But with the Book of Memories, he was ready to face whatever came next. Arian stood on the steps of the temple, his hand resting lightly on the glowing Book of Memories. The world around him was peaceful now, but he knew that peace was fleeting. The fabric of time, though restored, was fragile, always shifting, always changing. The echoes of the past, while silent for now, would one day stir again. And as the keeper of memories, it was his duty to ensure that the balance remained intact. Lyra and Ryla stood beside him, their gazes as steadfast as his. Though their roles were no longer as immediate, they remained close, ever watchful for signs of imbalance. Do you ever wonder if there will come a day when all of this is no longer needed? Ryla asked quietly, her voice a whisper in the evening wind. Arian's gaze wandered toward the horizon, where the last rays of the setting sun dipped below the mountains. Perhaps, he replied, but even if that day comes, it won't be soon. Time moves slowly, and there will always be stories to protect, memories to preserve. True, Lyra said, her voice warm but tinged with melancholy. And perhaps that is the greatest gift you've given the world, the understanding that memories are not to be feared or forgotten, but embraced. They shape who we are. And yet, Arian murmured, there are some memories that we should never forget, and some we should never try to rewrite. Exactly, Lyra agreed. The balance isn't just about keeping the past safe, but understanding how it affects the future. The path forward is written in the choices we make today. Arian nodded, his resolve strengthening. I will guard those choices. I will guard the memories. As time moved forward, Arian found himself no longer just guarding the Book of Memories but actively participating in the world's evolution. New generations arose, each with their own dreams, struggles, and hopes. The ancient texts were now part of the educational curricula in schools, teaching children not only the stories of the past but also the lessons they contained of wisdom, kindness, and the need for harmony between past and future. Arian also found himself traveling the world, helping those who had lost their connection to their history. He helped restore ancient landmarks, told the forgotten stories, and guided those who sought wisdom from the ancient days. But with each passing day, the burden of being the keeper grew heavier. The memories, both joyous and tragic, weighed on his heart. The past could not be fully understood without feeling its weight. One day, during one of his journeys, Arian met a young woman named Alara. She was a historian, dedicated to uncovering long-forgotten tales and preserving the truths hidden in ancient texts. But unlike others, Alara saw the world not just as it had been, but as it could be. "You see things differently," Arian said after their first conversation. "You're not just interested in the past. You see the potential of the future, don't you?" Alara smiled, her eyes gleaming with youthful ambition. "I believe we can learn from the past, but we must not be shackled by it. The future is a blank page, waiting to be written." Arian studied her for a moment, sensing something in her that reminded him of himself long. Agate desire to make the world better, to protect its memories but also to shape its future. "You have a rare gift, Alara," he said, his voice filled with a quiet admiration. "Perhaps it's time to pass on some of the knowledge I've gained." The years that followed saw a new era of understanding. Arian's role as the keeper of memories did not fade, but he slowly began to teach others how to take up the mantle. Alara was one of the first, and under her guidance, the balance of time was upheld not just by one person, but by a group of dedicated individuals who recognized the importance of preserving memories while allowing the future to flourish. The Book of Memories, now a living testament to the journey of all who had come before, became a shared responsibility. It was no longer just a book, but a symbol of the collective will of humanity to respect the past and build a brighter future. The temple where it resided was transformed into a sanctuary for knowledge and understanding, a place where all could come to learn, to reflect, and to grow. Arian's final days as the keeper were spent in quiet reflection. He often visited the temple, watching as Alara and others carefully tended to the book and the stories contained within it. And as he sat in the temple's gardens, the whispers of the past no longer felt like a burden, but a chorus of voices harmonizing with the present. "Your time has come, Arian," Lyra said to him one day, her presence as comforting as ever. "The world is in good hands." Arian nodded, the weight of his journey lifting. "I've done what I could. The rest is up to them." And so, with the passing of the torch to Alara and those who followed her, Arian's journey as the keeper of memories came to a peaceful end. The world continued to change, as it always had. But now there was a greater understanding that the past was not a chain, but a foundation on which the future could be built. Even as the world continued its journey forward, Arian's mind often wandered to the whispers of time. The Book of Memories had served as a bridge between the realms, a key to understanding the past. But as its role shifted to a more collective responsibility, Arian found himself troubled by a recurring feeling. The darkness that he had fought once, the forces beyond time, was not truly gone. It was merely dormant. He had learned that time was not a linear path, but a vast, interconnected web. The past, the present, and the future could not be separated as they once had been. They were entwined, like threads woven together by a weaver's hands. But what if those threads could be unraveled? What if some voices from the past were lost, or worse, suppressed? The thoughts plagued him. Alara, though a trusted ally, was still young, and though she possessed a powerful understanding of history and the forces that shaped it, the weight of the book was still heavy. There were more questions than answers, more mysteries than they had ever uncovered. One night, long after the sun had set, as Arian walked through the temple's vast halls, a strange sensation washed over him. It was as if the very air had changed, vibrating with a faint, unfamiliar energy. And then, there it was, a voice. Soft, distant, yet unmistakably clear. Arian. He stopped in his tracks, heart thudding in his chest. He was no longer alone. The Book of Memories, resting on its pedestal, hummed with an eerie glow. The voice was coming from within it. "Arian, the past is not yet finished with you." The voice was unmistakably that of an ancient entity, one that had lived long before even the first words were written in the book of memories. It was a voice of the forgotten, those beings whose existence had been wiped from history, their names erased from memory as if they had never existed. Arian's pulse quickened. He had learned that some threads of time were better left untouched. But now, it seemed as though the book itself was calling him to confront a deeper layer of the past. A layer that was not meant to be remembered. "What do you want from me?" Arian whispered into the dim room, his voice carrying the weight of years of responsibility. The voice responded, its tone both sad and urgent. "You are the keeper of memories, but you do not know all that lies beneath the surface. There are secrets buried in the forgotten corners of time, truths that must be acknowledged. You are not the only one who holds a key to the past. There is more to this world than you understand." Arian felt a chill sweep through him. "What must I do?" "The path is not easy," the voice warned. "There is a realm beyond the one you know. A place where time itself can bend, where the memories of all things forgotten still exist. You must go there, Arian, before the world loses the chance to remember." Arian did not hesitate. He had come this far, he could not turn back now. He knew that the future of the realms, and the lives of those he cared about, rested on his ability to face this unknown. The book of memories shifted, its pages flipping rapidly, until they landed on a page that glowed with an otherworldly light. An image began to form, one of a vast, dark realm nothing like the world he knew. The air was thick, the sky roiling with shadows. It was a place of forgotten memories, of histories erased from time. "Follow the path," the voice instructed. "And do not lose yourself to what lies within." With no other choice, Arian stepped forward, his fingers brushing the glowing pages of the book of memories. The temple around him seemed to dissolve, replaced by a vast, shadowed expanse. The air was heavy, oppressive. He stood in a place beyond time, a realm where the boundaries between the past and the present had crumbled. Here, memories floated in the air, fragmented and distorted, like echoes of lost souls. Each step forward seemed to pull him deeper into the void, yet he could not stop. Something was waiting for him, something that held the key to the forgotten voices, the truths that could not remain buried. As he journeyed deeper, he began to see faces, figures from forgotten history, their expressions twisted in pain and confusion. They reached out to him, their voices blending together in a chorus of anguish. "Help us," one voice whispered. "Remember us," another begged. But Arian could not help them all. The voices were too many, their presence overwhelming. And then, he saw a dark figure standing at the center of the realm. Cloaked in shadow, its eyes gleamed with an ancient, unsettling light. It was the force he had once fought, the one that had warned him of disturbing the balance. "You dare enter my domain?" the figure intoned, its voice echoing across the void. Arian stepped forward, his resolve unwavering. "I came to understand, not to fight. I came to remember what was lost." The figure laughed, a sound like the grinding of stones. "You cannot remember what you have never known. These memories are mine. The past is mine to control." Arian's heart raced. He realized that this was the true enemy, one who had manipulated time, erased histories, and twisted memories to their own design. But even as he faced it, he knew that to defeat this force, he would need more than just his will. He would need the strength of the past itself. The book of memories pulsed with energy, responding to the presence of the shadowy figure. Arian's hand went to the pages, and as he touched them, a surge of ancient power flowed through him. The voices of the forgotten, the ones who had lived before the manipulation of time, filled his mind. The truth of their existence, and the role they had played in shaping the world, rushed to the surface. "You cannot erase what has already been written," Arian said, his voice steady. The shadowy figure sneered. "I can rewrite it all. You, too, will be erased. Your memories will fade, just as all the others have." Arian stood firm, feeling the power of the book of memories enveloping him. The past, the present, and the future swirled around him, converging into a single point. With a final, powerful surge of energy, Arian called upon the full force of the memories, those lost, those forgotten, and those yet to come. A brilliant light filled the realm as the shadowy figure screamed in defeat. The memories, once lost, were restored. Time itself shifted and reformed, the veil between the forgotten and the remembered collapsing. And then, as quickly as it had come, the dark realm began to dissolve. Arian found himself back in the temple, the book of memories resting peacefully once more. But this time, it was different. The pages no longer shimmered with the ghosts of forgotten memories, they were filled with new stories, new truths, and a new understanding of time itself. Though peace had been restored, there were still shadows lingering in the corners of time. Arian, now a guide rather than a solitary guardian, stood at the heart of the Temple of Memories. The Book of Memories had grown even more powerful after the events in the Forgotten Realm. Its pages were no longer just a record of the past, they were alive. Evolving with every thought, every story, every memory that was shared by those who visited. But despite this balance, Arian could not shake the feeling that something was coming, a disturbance in the flow of time that had yet to reveal itself. There were cracks, small and unnoticed, that even the book could not account for. One evening, as Arian walked through the temple's tranquil gardens, he was approached by Alara, now a strong and wise keeper in her own right. She had taken on the mantle of leadership, guiding the next generation in their understanding of time, history, and memory. "Do you sense it too?" Alara asked, her eyes filled with concern. Arian nodded. "The veil between the past, present, and future. It's not as strong as it once was. There are ripples, small ones, at first, but they could grow. If we're not careful, the balance could be shattered again." Alara stood silently for a moment, then spoke with quiet resolve. "What should we do? We need to find the source of these disturbances before they grow too large. There are forces at work that we haven't fully understood yet. Forces older than the realms themselves," Arian said, his voice tinged with a seriousness that hadn't been there in years. The young keeper's eyes gleamed with determination. "Then we will find them." As Arian and Alara delved deeper into the mysteries of the shifting time veil, they uncovered a chilling truth. There were echoes, whispers from those who had been forgotten, but not erased. These were the remnants of ancient beings who once wielded power over time itself, but had been forced into exile long ago. They had not vanished, they had simply been lost, drifting through the cracks in time. The source of the disturbance was the return of these beings, and they were determined to rewrite the fabric of reality to suit their own vision. One such being, known only as the Exile, had found a way to breach the boundaries that separated the realms. The Exile had once been a ruler of an ancient civilization, one that had existed long before the time of the first gods. Their power had been unparalleled, their control over time absolute. But in their quest for dominance, they had fallen victim to their own hubris. The gods of the past had cast them out, condemning them to an endless wandering through forgotten realms. But now, the Exile had returned, bringing with them an army of followers, each more dangerous than the last. They were determined to reclaim what had been lost, to reshape the world in their image, where memory and time would be subjugated to their will. The war began not with swords, but with whispers, subtle shifts in the fabric of reality. First, the temples of memory began to crumble, the ancient records fading before their eyes. The stories of past heroes were rewritten, their victories turned to defeats, their names forgotten. Arian and Alara had no choice but to confront the exile. With the Book of Memories in their hands, they traveled across realms, seeking out the lost pieces of time that had been manipulated. They ventured into the darkest corners of the forgotten world, places where time had been warped beyond recognition. It was there, in the heart of the shattered realms, that they faced the exile. The beings stood tall, their forms shifting with the ebb and flow of time, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "You have come to stop me, Arian," the exile's voice echoed, its tone mocking yet filled with a strange sorrow. "But you cannot fight what has already begun. Time will bend to my will, and the memories of all will be mine to command." Arian stepped forward, the Book of Memories glowing brightly in his hands. "You do not understand. Time is not a tool to be wielded. It is a gift to be preserved, to be shared. You will not rewrite it." The exile's laugh was a harsh sound, like the crumbling of mountains. "You think you can stand against me? I am the forgotten, the lost, the one who has seen the end of all things. Your memories, your history, they are but dust to me." Alara stepped beside Arian, her own presence radiating with the energy of the book. "Then we will remind you of what you have forgotten. You may have power over time, but we have something you cannot control: the hearts of those who live within it." The battle that followed was unlike any other. Time itself seemed to bend and twist as Arian and Alara fought to hold the exile at bay. The realms flickered and shifted, memories emerging and fading in flashes of light. The Book of Memories became the key to stabilizing the very fabric of existence, a beacon of hope in the midst of chaos. But as the battle raged on, something incredible began to happen. The lost memories, those that had been hidden, erased, or forgotten, began to stir. They rose from the shadows of time, filling the air with their presence. The voices of the forgotten ancient kings, queens, heroes, and scholars spoke once more, their power returning to the world. With this power, Arian and Alara were able to strike at the heart of the exile's magic. The Book of Memories began to pulse with energy, illuminating the realm with an overwhelming light. The exiles screamed in defiance as their forms shattered, their power disintegrating before the might of all the memories they had sought to erase. When the light faded, the realms were still. The exile was gone, their influence vanquished. The balance of time, fragile but unbroken, had been restored. Arian and Alara stood together, their faces weary but resolute. They had saved the world from the collapse of time itself, but they knew the work was never truly finished. The Book of Memories was no longer just a record of the past. It was a living testament to the power of unity, to the importance of preserving the stories of all who had come before. "Do you think it will ever end?" Alara asked, looking at the restored book. Arian smiled softly. "Perhaps. But even if it does, we will have done our part. The memories will continue, and the future will unfold as it always has, with the lessons of the past guiding the way." Together, they returned to the Temple of Memories, where the stories of the world would continue to be written by all who chose to remember. Today's story ends here. See you later.